Hello, fellow friends and AQHA recreational activity colleagues. This is Mark Garner from Southern Alberta. I would like to share with you some of the events that I've used as a breeder of American quarter horses in Canada in an effort, of course, to attract youth to our industry. The presentation that follows will outline one of those events called the Youth Weanling Challenge that has found success in our program. I look forward to your feedback and ideas. More to come. As a breeder of American quarter horses in Canada, we had to sit down as a family and determine our strategic plan. And we came up with three key points that we were going to focus on, and this happened in about 2013. The very and most important one was we had to ask ourselves, how do we engage youth? We believe they're the future of our industry. They're our future horse buyers and horse sellers, and we need to get them involved. The second thing was we already know we have some great horse training talent in our area. So how do we promote that? And lastly, we needed some sort of a vehicle to put it all together to make that important connection with industry to tie them to our program. These are our event goals. This event called the Youth Weanling Challenge is a 3-week event or a 3-week deal for young people and young horses to get together. And it happened, by happenstance in 2014 after our ranch's second colt starting challenge and sale, which is another initiative that we came up with at the ranch. I had a young girl come up to me after the event and say to me, she said, Mark, would you ever consider doing this same sort of a thing with some weanlings and somebody my age? And this girl would have been about 14, 15 years of age. And of course, she no sooner asked it than I said to myself, man, what a good idea. Why didn't I think of this? Anyway, this is how we started into our Youth Weanling Challenge, and it's been a success ever since. So how does it work? Well, we're a single breeder, obviously, but I believe this could very easily be tailored to AQHA to be a multiple breeder event. How it works is real simple. We wean our colts at the end of September. We keep them together for about a week so they can kind of kick and scratch and get used to each other and figure out the social structure of the herd. And before that happens, about a month before, we use social media as a method to solicit applications from anybody between the ages of 13 and 17. And we pay them a trainer's salary. We go through all their resumes. They actually have to put their computer skills to work and complete and scan and email me in a copy of their application form. And at that point, of course, we put them all in a pile, and then about 3 weeks before the event or 2 weeks before the event, we will actually sit down and figure out which ones we want to kind of take on. And we usually take about 10. If we have a whole pile of applications, then we may take more, and it depends on how many horses we have. Again, this can be tailored to AQHA for a specific number of breeders together or depending on number of horses. Anyway, we get them together and we have a one-day horse pickup at the ranch. We pay them the first half of their trainer's salaries. We sign waivers with them and their parents to complete our due diligence for insurance and so forth. And then, of course, we have them back up down to the loading chute, and we kind of scurry in a group of colts because you know how colts like to stick together. And then we let them siphon out of the trailer, and we as gently as possible corral one in the corner. We close their back door, and that's what they take home with them for 3 weeks. It doesn't have to be 3 weeks. It can be 4 weeks. It can be 5 weeks. It depends. Depends on how you want to do it. Point being is that these kids, which have been pre-qualified to have proper facilities, they have some horse experience, and they usually have a family that can help them. Their family, of course, usually this means they're usually rural people with some facilities and so forth. After we've selected the trainers and they've gone home with their horses, and after the 3 weeks or what have you, we of course have already booked an local arena in the area, and we have a one-day show, and recently we actually added a bit of a sale to it afterwards, which ties in really well if you're a breeder. And it's really cool. Show day, the kids all show up. We pay them the second half of their trainer's salary. And then we get down to it, and we only require basic grooming because we're getting late in the year. Usually this is into middle to late October. Horses are getting haired up for winter, so we're only looking for basic requirements. We have them all line up, and we have 2 judges from the area that we've pre-qualified as good horse people to judge the show. It's about a 2-hour deal with 10 to 12 horses. And we get them to line up, and they do a basic. The judges rather do a basic assessment of the condition of the horses and how well they're standing and so on. The course is rather simple. The beginning of the course, we set up some pylons, and each youth trainer is required to jog their horse through the cones. That horse is to stay beside them, showing willingness. Of course, even extra marks are given if we have a nice loose halter shank or lead rope, indicating that horse is not being tugged but actually is coming along willingly. At the end of the cones, they're required to pick up all 4 feet for multiple seconds, of course demonstrating they've taught this horse how to be patient, to be somewhat ground tied, and of course they now are showing that they have become farrier friendly. The middle part of this course involves them leading their horse into a small corral through a gate. They then come out and have to walk them over a tarp. And then, of course, one of my favorites is loading that horse into a horse trailer. We've all had those horses that don't like to load. That usually means the fundamentals were missed at an earlier age. We believe that the training fundamentals can be put on them very easily at the weanling age. And trainers do such a great job of this. They are required to lead them in forward, lead them out forward. However, they do get extra marks if they back them out, because not all of us have a nice slant load trailer. Some of us have little front load trailers, and of course we often don't have a choice but to back them out. Once the trailer is complete, we then actually ask them to lead through forward and then back through an L-shaped obstacle, indicating that that horse has been taught to yield to pressure and have confidence in the trainer backing where they won't necessarily see. Of course, we do believe in some tarp work, getting them used to those things that flap. You know, sometimes you might have a feed yard with a loose tarp when you're riding by. And, you know, some of us have even been on adult horses that are very bothered by that. These kids do such a great job with these horses, the tarps don't bother them, putting those all-important fundamentals on them at an early age. You know, although the focus of this event is training fundamentals, that's what we're really big on, it never ceases to amaze me how awesome and how trustworthy these young colts and fillies are with their youth handlers. Showoff Time happens at the very end of their compulsory part of their obstacle course, and that, of course, is if they have time. Each one of these trainers has 8 to 10 minutes, depends on the year, depends on how much time we have for the arena and so on. But if there is time, they get to, we call it Showoff Time, and this is where they get to demonstrate any additional training they've put on these horses. And I have to tell you, people have been blown away by how much these young horses trust their trainers. And I can tell you this as a breeder, folks, they retain this training, and these horses are continually easy to handle well into their adolescence and into adulthood. And you ask any of the customers of ours that have these horses, they tell me the same thing all the time. They find value in this. They believe that every horse, and I do too, ought to have the basic fundamental training. This extra stuff, of course, wows the crowd and just demonstrates what a great deal it is with the youth that we have involved. And the winner is, of course, this event is aimed primarily at youth. In our last Weanling Challenge, we tossed around the idea of adding a ladies class, and what a good idea that was. At the end of it, I'm not sure which group had the most fun, if it was the young ladies or the middle-aged ladies. Everybody was pretty excited to participate, and of course each group got first through third, and we had some trophies made up and had even some neighbors and stuff donate some tack and whatnot as part of this event. You know, there's nothing much more gratifying than hearing just a little kid talk to their parents about, you know, which one of the youth trainers has now become their new idol. And although this event we have found to be dominated primarily by young ladies, you know, there's no question that they bring their friends, they bring their family, and a lot of times the family has helped them in the halter training of this horse, and they've all learned so much as a family. I've even had one dad tell me that, you know, the whole process brought them closer together as a family, which was very gratifying for our entire family to know that we're having that kind of an impact on others out there. Of course, as a promoter of the American Quarter Horse in Canada and kind of bleeding AQHA, we do have requirements that people that are involved in these events We like to see them as already having memberships, and if not, we encourage them to buy memberships and so on. But you know, kids and youth, does it get any better? I'll tell you what, it doesn't. And case in point, the winner of our first Weanling Challenge in 2014 went on to become the Reserve Grand Champion, or won rather, the Reserve Grand Championship at our 2017 Colt Starting Challenge at only 18 years of age. And after talking with her parents said that she has already been booked and was booked all winter long as a trainer for people that are saying, hey, we love what you did. We saw you in the Weanling Challenge. We saw you in the Colt Starting Challenge. How do we get our horses to you? And so that engagement continues on past the 17-year age mark and into adolescence and adulthood. So now let's tailor it to suit AQHA. Now what I have here are just a few ideas. The great thing is we have a subcommittee with some awesome experience that's going to hopefully take a look at this and come up with some things that they can see might work, things that maybe don't work. But I'll tell you, here's some things I see as how it might play out. First of all, I believe this is going to end up being a multiple breeder event per region. Kind of like you see with your horse shows. There's a region for every group of horse shows. I think this could be very similar. This, in my opinion, is a recreational event. Now, it's not that I have any problem with it being associated with any other initiatives at AQHA, but the reason I mention this is, of the trainers that have participated in this, about 20% actually come from ranching families. The majority of them are people that have a few horses. They've always wanted to work with a weanling, but they're not breeders. They don't have, weanlings of their own, but they have some horse experience and they want the opportunity. And that's why I see this as a recreational event. This should be mostly cost recovered. It can use a cost recovery model in order to sustain itself. Every breeder simply could pay a fee for entrance, and fees, of course, would cover the cost of the event, including the trainer's salary. And I got to tell you, the trainer's salary is an important part. What you pay them would be something up to AQHA or the committee to suggest. All participants and breeders, I believe this is a must. They must be current members of the American Quarter Horse Association. Horses must be registered with the American Quarter Horse Association, and the current owner must be on the registration certificate. A pet peeve of mine, of course, I bleed AQHA, is owners that have American Quarter Horses with a certificate and it has the previous owner's name on it. I am always there to suggest, look, I'll sit down with you, let's get this horse transferred. I believe this should be an event where we want responsible and reputable owners and breeders participating, not those who want to only get half involved. Prizes, just some ideas. You could put out a 3-year youth membership or a free lifetime horseback riding enrollment for the 3 winners. If they're already enrolled, maybe double hours. How about the event organizers? Should they get something? Maybe. The winning 3 horses and breeders could get some sort of points or some kind of recognitions at AQHA on their record. The goal here is to get youth involved and tie them to AQHA. I can't think of a better way than somehow getting their name at AQHA somewhere where they can look that up and go show their friends and say, look, I'm on AQHA's radar. I think that's something that has a lot of potential there. Judges, quite frankly, could just use or be picked rather just like we picked them for the AQHA Forum or Trail Challenge. It can be local horsemen that have the ability to do a good job to judge. And of course, all participants and owners would have to sign the AQHA waiver and release. Some of the benefits to youth, for certain, if there's anything I've heard most from the kids that have participated in this, is how much they appreciate the opportunity to work with a weanling. And multiple families have told me what they like about it is that it's a short period of time and it doesn't require a lot of resources. I'm aware that the Ranching Heritage Breeders have a program over 1 year. Love that program. Think it's awesome. But the only pitfall with that is that you have to be a Ranching Heritage Breeder to donate the horse and so on, and it takes an entire year, which includes a lot more resources. Some ranches, even our own, do not qualify to be a Ranching Heritage Breeder. And therefore, I believe that particular program, as awesome as it is, has a bit of a hole and is leaving a good portion of that market out of having the ability to work with weanlings. This event incorporates the entire family, friends, and club members. You see kids bring their friends. And I can't think of a better way of getting kids involved if they bring all their friend group with them to something like this. They get the opportunity to gain a vast experience and to add to a future resume. A lot of these kids are looking to become horse trainers in the future. What a better way than to stick something like this on their resume saying, hey, I participated in the Ranch X blank X Youth Weanling Challenge. And what a thing to put on a resume. It, of course, gives them exposure to those that would like to carry on with training of other people's horses. So if they want to train horses later on, what a better way than to be out in front of a whole, arena full of people demonstrating what you can do. And, of course, the big one, and this is maybe more for AQHA, but I think it's to the youth benefit as well, is they're now tied to AQHA. And, AQHA has some amazing youth programs, initiatives, lessons, professional horsemen and women in the industry and so on. Look at the resources that the youth can access by being tied to AQHA. This is where I think the real kind of sledgehammer comes in to really drive home that this could be a very successful program. If you're a breeder, come September, you have colts or weanlings rather, fillies and colts, and you need to get them halter trained. A lot of ranches, they just turn those weanlings out because you know what, they just don't have time for them. Well, what a better way to get your weanlings trained beyond what you would have probably done yourself at the weanling age to have them easy to handle for the next 2 to 3 years. Talk about exposure of your horses to a vast variety of horse owners, trainers, and others in the industry that are in attendance at this event. Talk about getting some advertising, some bang for your buck. And of course, this demonstrates that you have become a recognized, or you're being recognized rather, as a responsible and reputable breeder or owner of an American quarter horse, and that you wish to help youth get involved in the industry. You recognize the importance of getting our kids excited about the American quarter horse. This can be incorporated with a sale to follow, which brings many more qualified people to your sale ring. If you're trying to sell horses, I can't tell you of a better way to do it than to line up a bunch of parents that have just spent time with their daughter or their son working with a colt. They fall in love with them, and it sounds a little backhanded, but at the end of the day, we have more customers that buy their horses and continue to email me. They text me how much they love this horse and what a great experience it continues to be. That aside, how about all the other people that come that haven't worked with that horse but get a chance to see what that horse can do? There's no secrets here. These horses and kids, they put it all out on the line. If there's a problem, people get a chance to see it. And finally, the youth are exposed to the wonderful world of AQHA. They can become involved in other youth programs. And we have such a vast variety of cool and intense programs at AQHA for kids. And the sooner we can get them tied to that, once they're tied, I see no reason why they're not tied for life. Future registrations and memberships. AQHA doesn't run itself. We all know it takes money to do that. And so the best way to do that is to get more horses out there with registrations and get more people signed up as members. I can't think of a better way of doing it. We've even gone so far in the past, what we do for the winner of our Youth Weanling Challenge and our Colt Starting Challenge is we give them a 3-year free youth membership. Now, of course, that costs us. But now, AQHA has another member that's now tied. But more importantly, what about all their friends? We've seen their friends go to buy a horse. Now they get a membership because they bought a horse. They need to register it. So it brings not only the participating youth, but of course it has a spin-off to other family members, club members, friends that may not be formally involved with AQHA that now maybe want to be. Of course, it introduces youth to showing horses. And let's be honest. As much as I don't show horses, I fully understand and appreciate that the one thing that sets the American Quarter Horse Association apart from every other equine organization is our ability to show horses around the world. Now, one of the biggest issues is how do we get kids involved in showing horses? Well, here you have a grassroots introduction to showing horses. After this event, you now have a youth that's been in front of a crowd. They've learned how to prepare. They've made some mistakes, no doubt. But what an opportunity for AQHA to take a grassroots movement and help move these kids to the next level in showing horses. I think it's a winner. And before I sum this up, I just wanted to present a few case in points as to how this grassroots type organization has already had an effect on the industry to some degree. You know, multiple contestants that didn't necessarily win in the past Youth Weanling Challenges have actually gone on to become rodeo queens. We have a great deal of them have gone on with that passion and actually enrolled in post-secondary institutions from across Western Canada all the way down into the southern United States to further their equine education in equine science and other areas. And probably the biggest poster child for how this can actually go on a larger scale would be a young man by the name of Tate Matson, who in 2015 at our very first Youth Weanling Challenge, he won that event. He went on, he was 16 at the time, he actually went on to compete at and start to show horses, American quarter horses in Canada. And not too long ago, he went on to win multiple awards, the Canadian Supreme, which is our national championship in Canada, in Western Pleasure with his American quarter horses. And so I believe that, you know, he really feels he got a great start with this program, getting used to people and showing and so forth. And so I think it's great to see these kids go on. With that, this is Mark Garner presenting to you with, of course, the Youth Weanling Challenge perspective, and I look forward to hearing your thoughts and ideas in the future. Have a great day.